Hello, Black women. So, I wanted to do this video tonight and talk about how two things can be right at the same time. It's just us trying to get into the mentality of remembering that just because we may agree with something or like something doesn't mean that the things that we don't like or that should be done we don't agree with can be happening at the same time and that they should be the very thing happening instead of what we like. Right now, we're in a very scary place in America where you have a very racist white man trying to become a dictator in our country. And although we have this situation where Black women are supposed to be resting, and we are going to be resting as a result of the Kamala Harris presidential election loss. But what I also want to say to Black women is that while we're resting, we can also go out of our way to participate in the art of resistance by simply doing things like calling to our capital and complaining about things that are not benefiting Black women, writing emails to our representatives, all of them, both Republican and Democrat, and whomever else that we may think is or is not on Trump's side, to let them know that we don't agree with what is happening right now. And we want you to stand up and do your job, which is to speak for your constituents. When you do these things, and it doesn't take much of you, I'm not asking you to go out and rally, hold a march, or protest. I'm simply asking you to take a couple of moments or minutes out of your day to uh, pre record or write a couple of emails that you could even, you know, put on delay to send every other day or 2 or 3 times out of the week to the same representative to let them know that you are not happy what is happening with this administration and you are holding them personally accountable for standing up for you and making sure that Trump is reeled back in within the parameter of their power to make sure that your rights 100% are validated, acknowledged, and protected, all right, and enforced. So the other day, we had a situation where Trump tried to take money from uh, federal spending that covered everybody's income that lived on a fixed income, everybody that was on disability, all of the veterans, and anyone who received medication to survive, or every and anybody who goes to the doctor. So when that happened, we did have Hillary Clinton, who actually came along and went on Twitter and wrote an email that showed people exactly how they were supposed to respond to that by sending an email to the representatives in both the Senate and the Congress, because you have to do this with both parties, right? You had she put out an email, not an email. She put out a tweet that you were supposed to write as an email to let, and I'm going to show you. I saw it on Don Lemon, but I'm going to also show you exactly what she wrote, and then I'll make it a little bigger for you. If you let me see, can you see? You should be able to see it from here. So this is the tweet she put out, right? And this was in response to all of the freezing of the federal aid that Trump and all the rest of his buddies, Elon and the rest of them, tried or thought that they would be able to take the taxpayers' money to fund whatever they wanted to do with trillions of dollars that dealt with the lives of American people. So what she put in this tweet was she put in pretty much a script for you to call the Capitol switchboard, which the phone number is down here in the bottom of 202-224-3121. And then she gave you pretty much an outline of how you would leave a message or speak to any office aide that picked up the phone that worked there for any of those representatives to let them know you were not pleased with what happened with Trump. And this is pretty much a blueprint for how you would move forward in all the rest of your complaints or issues you have with any bills that are trying to be passed or something Trump has done. This is the way you invoke change along with the people you have voted in who are supposed to stand up for the American people. You can change this around to add in your own comments, optional comments, or other things that concern you, issues, or what you believe to be resolutions. You can put that in there as well. But what I'm asking you to do is take this simple format of what she's shown you here and call this Capitol switchboard, make your complaint and your concerns known, and then follow up with simple emails to both your senator and your congressperson to let them know that you are paying attention to how they are handling themselves in this administration and how they're voting and what they're going along with and what they're not going along with, so that they know you're watching what they're doing. So you'll put them at, make them nervous, and they won't be at ease to just do whatever Trump wants them to do, because they know that you'll be watching them holding their job over their head at the end of their term, which is all literally you have to do. You can still rest and sit back and not advocate for any groups that were not part of the 92%, and at the same time advocate for your own group and your own people by writing specifically in these emails, in these letters, and leaving these messages or speaking to someone on this Capitol switchboard exactly what it is you're concerned about with American Black women. And you move forward this way consistently. So in addition to that, this opens the door to you being able to make your complaints and to make your complaints be heard, so that you know that you don't have to sit here and just scream at the television. You have a way of dealing with this, and someone is actually going to hear your complaint and know that you're paying attention. And now they know that they're going to be scrutinized as to how they act or what they do in regards to what is happening that's making the public upset. In addition to that, I wanted you guys to be aware of this bill that has literally become an issue all over the country now. And this is the Republicans' attempt to make that national abortion ban. Please, I want you guys to get really political this term with Trump. And you don't have to go out and scream about it, but please tell your friends, your neighbors, and your relatives to get on to these governmental websites. Pay attention to these bills that are being put on the floor to be voted on when we're sleeping and we're not paying attention to what these people are doing behind our backs, so that we get to stop some of these things and have a say in what is happening. Okay? Please. Right now, I'm not signed into this website. I do have an account on congress.gov. And when you actually sign in, there will be over in this area a box for you to vote for these bills, yay or nay. Nay is no, yay is yes. Okay? So when you do those things, you follow up with another email or a phone call to the Capitol switchboard for your particular congressperson or senator and let them know, I'm in favor of this bill. I'm not in favor of this bill. Vote no against this bill. This is what I want. And I will be watching to see what you do. period, whatever else you want to say, to let them know that you're not playing with them and that you're serious about them doing what they're supposed to do by the American people. And most importantly, by their individual constituents. Okay, so this here is House Resolution Bill 722, and this would be the way they would go about trying to do an abortion ban nationally. What they basically want to try to do here is use the 14th Amendment, which has a particular article in it that they're trying to exploit, to say that even an unborn child is a human being that can be killed, and that the mother can be held liable for killing a human that has not even yet formed into a human. We as women know that a zygote is not anything but a bunch of cells way before it becomes a fetus, and it takes a long time before it becomes a fetus, to the point where you could literally say it's a baby growing inside of you. So they don't want to acknowledge that. They just want to make it seem like as soon as you have anything forming inside of your body, they want to automatically call it a baby. They want to put the image of a newborn baby in people's heads to make them think that you're actually taking the life of a human being, when the human being does not even begin to form as we know it as a baby. So if they are to pass this law works in conjunction with the 2025 Project 2025. Let me get to it. Let me show y'all where it is, right? The Project 2025, where is it? Department of Health, and is it Health and Human Services that I was on? Give me a minute, y'all, because I didn't tag it. I believe it is Health and Human Services. Let me go in here, right? And choices, yeah, it's in here. All right, let me make this a little bit bigger, right? And I want to get to the pregnancy part. But basically, they're trying to make it where if they pass this bill and this bill becomes a law, anytime you get pregnant, they will be allowed to monitor your birth, accuse you of murder, lock you up, and in certain states ask for you to be put to death because of this actual law. So this is serious. And they want to stop your contraceptives, stop you from being able to have an abortion, and all of the things that go along with that. So here's part of it, right? This is them trying to get rid of the pills. When you read this whole thing, which you guys should do, because this is pretty much a blueprint as to what he's going to be doing throughout his whole entire term. So if you read this and you follow along with the bills they're trying to pass, you can speak up against this stuff as they try to implement it to stop it. Now, even though they have the majority in both the houses, both the Senate and the House of Representatives, right? Listen, if 2/3 of each house votes against what this dude says, his bills will be struck down. You can make that happen by putting the pressure on those representatives to keep their job when the end of their term comes back around again. That's how you do that. In addition to that, the way that I had spoke about in the video previous to this one that led up to this video I'm making today, it is possible for 2/3 of Congress to vote together, plus do a few other things, to put term limitations in and on the Supreme Court. That will only happen if the constituents and the voters are very serious about making it real clear to the representatives in both all the members of service in the Senate and in the House of Representatives, in the Congress, that we want the Supreme Court to change. You could change it two ways. You could put term limitations on them, or you could add more justices to the court so that the Republicans no longer have the majority. Those are the two options that the Congress can vote on to make change, or a president could literally do to add on to the Supreme Court to make change. Now, all of these things, I have to honestly say, make me upset, because when Biden was in office, he could have done all of this shit before Trump got in, but he didn't. He seriously let us down with that. He could have also just dropped down within the first 2 years he was there and let Kamala take over the presidency. And once she was in there, you would have been able to see how she would have conducted herself as president. And I'm more than sure if she was doing all those things that she promised us, she would have got reelected. And even if she didn't get reelected, at least we would have had, for the first time in America, a woman president. So I'm very upset with that administration, because it did things too little, too late, too fucking often. And I do think that had everything to do with Biden being a white man who has never really been about doing the right thing for America. And he's only had this change of heart, personality, and all of this concern for Black people and other people of color since he's gotten older and he's about to check out. All right. So I just want to say that there are ways to make change. Don't give up. We have to educate ourselves, and we got to be vigilant on just making a few phone calls and routinely sending out a couple of emails. And that is not going to kill any of us Black women. While we sit back and not participate in what's going on with the immigration as a result of the 92% working hard while everybody else let us down. But the way that we can passively but effectively work towards our own rights and looking out for ourselves going forward, it is just that simple. Consistent phone calls monthly or weekly, consistent emails monthly or weekly. These are small acts of resistance that you could do, small passive acts of resistance to let people know that even though I'm not fully engaged in the fight, I'm not out the fight. I'm just staying, I'm staying abreast of what's going on. And I'm continuing to let you know that I'm watching your every move, and that I'm waiting to see what you're going to do. I'm going to give you a chance, because if you don't do right by me, I will be firing you when your term is up. And that really scares these people more than anything else, because they live to be rich and affluent. And if you hold their jobs over their head the way they hold our jobs over our heads, you will see them behave quite differently. Because whether they have a loyalty to Trump or not, Trump is not going to pay for every one of these people's lifestyles and the way, and for them to live and eat and manage their family every day. He is not going to do that. So when you clearly let these people know, look, it's either you doing right by us and keeping your job, or doing right by him and losing your job and then being out just like the rest of us. So you make your own decision. But we are trying to give you an opportunity. So let me just talk about this for a little while, and then I'll jump back into the video. The abortion pills here in this Project 2025 on page 457, they're talking about here that they think these pills pose the greatest threat to unborn children in a post-Roe world, right? All of this is lies that they've created in this Republican manifesto to deal with the so-called low birth rate in America. There is no low birth rate in America. It is the reality of women exercising their independence, poor women recognizing that they don't want to live in poverty, and that if they're going to struggle, they rather struggle as single unwed women who have the freedom to move around this country and try to work as many odd jobs or one jobs that pay whatever it is to have them live and be able to be independent and take care of themselves without being completely destitute. The reason they're doing this huge push for children is because people are born to provide labor for these rich people who only care about the amount of money one physical person can bring to an industry owned by one of these rich people to make them that much more money. They're not concerned with if that child is growing up healthy, living in a conducive, supportive, nurturing environment that makes them a law-abiding citizen. They don't care about that. They care about this is an able-bodied person that will provide labor to make me rich and to continue this capitalism and patriarchy in this country, which I believe we as Black women should not contribute to at all. We shouldn't contribute to it. We should just keep fighting to make sure that for Black women's future and little Black girls who are currently here today and those that may come about, they still have the ability to remain free in this country and have not only the rights that we've lost, but to regain those rights and to get other rights moving forward so that we too can be enfranchised, have power in this country the way we should very soon. Not someday, but very soon. So basically, they're just talking about trying to get rid of these pills here and how this is causing them a problem, right? If you want to take your time to pause to read this or actually go on the website and read this stuff the way you should, you are free to do so. I just want to point certain things out to you. We're still talking about, sorry, I thought I had to sneeze, but it wouldn't come out. We're still talking about, what do you call it? Preventing pregnancy, contraceptives, right? So they went from talking about the pills to when you go a little further down, now they're talking about getting mail orders, right? Pills, you know what is the name of that drug called? Methyl. I saw it a little while ago. I don't commit this stuff to memory, y'all. I apologize. Here it is. Mifepristone. I don't know. Whatever that is. So you see it there, the first pill, right? They get rid of that's a abortion pill, so they want to get rid of that. I don't know how to say it. Then they talk about the abortion process, the mail order abortion pills, misoprostol, it looks like. I don't know. And then from there, they go on to different things in those clinics that they spoke about. Conflict of interest. You need to read these things if you are interested in what they're trying to do to you. But I wanted to point this out to you and go down a little further, right? And these are those centers they spoke about when they were talking about those women health centers. This is how they would pay for them. And then later on, they go down into how they control your health care and how they want doctors to be able to be partners or actually own some of these centers because they feel like the doctors would be more invested in following orders and going along with the plan if money was involved and they were actually making money off of harming people. This is literally what they've written, but they haven't said it that plain. So I want you to see all of this stuff here. Please read this if you get a chance to. I mean, it really shows you just how harmful they want to be. And if we go back to the very beginning, right? This is the table of contents. When you go through here, you get to read firsthand how they're going to write these bills up and where to find the actual whole idea of what they're trying to do behind the things they want to put into law. So they talked about getting rid of the Department of Education, right? Let's make this a little bigger. What did I get up to? So the overview, right? So they're basically talking about, the different lawsuits and how it affected school from the Civil Rights Act of 64 all the way up to the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965 to the Higher Education Act of 1965, right? And then he's talking about different programs that came out of the War on Poverty that dealt with more funding that went into elementary and secondary schools under Title 4, right, of the EHEA, all the way up to like technical schools and the unions that came about from the teachers and all these type of things, right? All the way up to like 1980s to the American Rescue Plan. All of the money that went into that, they're trying to say that money was wasted. I noticed that they didn't mention very much No Child Left Behind. I wonder why, but nonetheless. And they just go into their reasons why Department of Education is not effective and that it should be done away with, when we know that's not true. The Department of Education is very effective. Just to point out, right, when they talk about the needed reforms here, they're talking about how different scores in the performance in either math or science declined over time, and they try to make that an issue. But the thing I always had a problem with was you don't teach these children the way you should, the way other countries do. And then you get upset when the kids don't perform very well, when you basically don't care if they, especially if they're Black and children of color that they deem undesirable or throwaway children, right? They don't really care if they learn at all. They're more interested in trying to funnel them to the school to prison pipeline. So all of these things that they've written in here, please take the time to read, because it just shows you how narrow and warped their minds are, because they never come from an honest or real point of view that speaks to the conditions of living these kids have to deal with, or the social conditions they live with. Like, the racism is out of control when you're talking about the disparity between white schools that get a whole lot of funding, new textbooks, sports, music, good nutrition, counseling, therapy, anything they need in the school to make sure that they're completely protected and cared for while they're being educated. That doesn't happen in poor Black schools. Nobody cares about if those children are learning, if they have any emotional problems, or if they're going through stress or struggle. They don't give a damn. So everything they have here is more than disingenuous. It's just a bunch of nonsense. But when you start looking into this, you'll see the direction they're trying to go in and how you could stop it. And when you put your emails together, you'll be able to use some of their own writing, some of their own stuff that supports why they want to do these things against doing the right thing. You can put that in the email, or you can call the Capitol switchboard and let them know, no, this is not a good idea. You stated on this page of Project 2025 that this, or the other thing is going to be good, when in fact it's not. It's actually this way. So you can use this as an outline to make your argument, if that's what you choose to do. But I really wish everybody reads this, so we're not in the dark as to what it is they're doing when they put these bills together, because they're just literally going chapter by chapter. They're not necessarily going in order, but they're going through this entire freaking manifesto as if, this is their guide, their presidential guide to becoming a dictator. This is some sick shit. So let me just see about how many pages this thing really is. Like, does it show? Yeah, we get into it. Let's get to the bottom. So out of all of this, y'all, this is the last page. 879 page manifesto. All the rest of this stuff is notes and stuff like that to the document. But this is really wild. So if you have the time to look through this, great. Because this is actually what's happening right now. And just take a look on everything. I wanted to see the Veterans Affairs and Department of Treasury. I'm going to look at that next. But I wanted to bring that up because that seriously goes hand in hand with this bill here that would actually devastate women throughout this country. I say devastate because right now we have a whole lot of people online trying to promote and discredit Black women being single, Black women having rights, Black women wanting to be child-free, marriage-free, educated, and career-orientated, all right? So things like this, especially if Black women are sexually violated or raped, right? This will become a problem because they will literally be trapped, because anything they do to get rid of this unwanted pregnancy will result in them either possibly having their lives ended or being incarcerated. And no woman should have to suffer either of those consequences just because she was either violated or she became pregnant through no fault of her own. Because we all know as women that you could be condomed down, have taken all types of birth control and still get pregnant. It just works like that sometimes. So this is not a good thing, and we as women need to fight very hard to make sure that this does not become a reality at all. And keep in mind, women, especially Black women, you need to be writing these letters and calling that switchboard, because this administration literally has no fucking women on that women pregnancy healthcare committee. They're all fucking white men. There are no other people in that committee but white men. And if you think old wrinkled ass, disgusting, dysfunctional fucking white men are going to think about the benefit of women, you are sadly mistaken. So please get on your job and send these emails, letters, and make these phone calls to let them know you are not in favor of this bill becoming a law. Now, outside of that, I want to liven stuff up a little bit, because for Black women, I want to get back to talking to you about the dangers of us, and two things being true at the same time. And I would like to suggest or push for us to have a clearer head when it comes to not getting sucked into this Black community thing and caping for Black males once again, and feeling inadequate or wanting to be in a relationship with somebody and thinking that being young and not having the education and the money you really need to take care of your family by yourself, if you have to, and you can't do it, but you want to be involved in struggle love, or listening to some podcast or some of these YouTube creators that have come on here years and years trying to lower the self-esteem of women and advocate for women being in relationships with Black males who do nothing all day but bash black women online and try to shame us into opening up proximity to us for sex, opening up the door for these dudes who are highly violent and who murder and take the lives of black women every day, to the point where there are over 200,000 black women and girls missing or murdered as of today. And nobody's really caring about that. Too many women who are on this loyalty to black males are not thinking about the dangers that lie ahead for black women and girls when you keep pushing this nonsensical narrative about welfare took the black male out of the household, and that because black women have never seen a functional relationship between a man and a woman in their home, they don't know how to have decent mutual respect relationships with black males, when none of that could be further from the truth. Welfare never took black men out the home. Black women have always been the primary provider for families in the black community. Since slavery, black males have never, ever, even before slavery, taking, how can I put this? Taking any serious commitment or level of responsibility to being a good father or husband. The majority of these dudes have always been sexually reckless and capricious. They want to fuck everything moving. They don't want to be tied down to any woman, but they do want to have the option of fathering children everywhere they go, so they could come back to a woman when they're having problems with another woman. As a result of that, this country has studied that type of insane behavior, that buck breaking behavior, since before the Moynihan Report, because in order to make the Moynihan Report, they had to study the behaviors of black men after post-slavery up until the present day, or up until the present time of the Moynihan Report coming out in the 1990s. That was written by his staff, not the senator himself, because I'm actually a constituent of that senator who passed away. Let me tell you, this is a real issue. The whole thing about them saying welfare took black males out of the home is an absolute lie, because there actually was a lawsuit in Mississippi by a black woman. I believe her last name is Black. I'm going to try to find it, where she fought the welfare boyfriend rule, which was, let me see, Mississippi welfare. Let me see if I can find it. Lawsuit. Black. So she actually went to court and she fought this boyfriend law, where it was in the 1970s, I think it was. So she fought this law and made it where her boyfriend was able to stay in the house with her, where all before the welfare law simply stated, if you, are married, your husband could be in your household with you on welfare. It's that way to this day. But what they didn't want back in the days was for the woman to have some strange dude who didn't work, who wasn't trying to be a father figure, who wasn't trying to be a husband in her home, pretty much participating in ill repute. Because back then, things were a little different than they are today. They actually had a code of conduct among society, and they didn't like people to be morally bankrupt. Like, they didn't want people living in ill repute. They didn't want you living out of marriage and being sexual in front of children, or a man just being in a house having sex with a woman but not being responsible for the women and the children. And this is what these men wanted to do, which is why welfare said, no, we're not having that. If the man wants to be in a household, he has to marry the woman and take the responsibility of being the man who's working in the household, or who's the man in the household on welfare. They didn't want to do that because they just wanted to be free to randomly fuck women as they wanted. And there was also the major issue of domestic violence and black femicide back then, where black femicide was not being counted or recognized or acknowledged, but was definitely happening. Now, I didn't find that lawsuit, but I need to find it again. There were 3 lawsuits actually concerning that. And wait a minute, videos in Mississippi welfare lawsuit and black men out. Let's see. How the U.S. destroyed black families. I doubt this is what I'm talking about, but I'll do another video on that separately because I can't find it right now. But what I want to get to is that in these lives and stuff I hear online, a lot of times I am hearing women and black males constantly trying to say that it's black women's fault that these dudes are no longer in our households, and that is not correct. What it is that these dudes actually want to they just want to live off of the black woman, live off her, and have access to sex. Whenever they talk, everything about them is sexually related. That's all they care about. If you start to try to talk to them about anything that is not related to sexual relations, then it's a problem for them. And that should be a problem for black women. But what I've seen is that the black women laugh, they giggle, they think that shit is funny. And to me, I don't understand how they think any of those things they're saying are funny. Like, they have a problem with feminism, right? Whenever they hear the word feminism, they automatically think that it's a man-hating situation, when actually it literally just means that women should have the same rights as any man has, period. That's all it really means. When you get into the particular portions or aspects of it, you can go into liberal feminism, my personal favorite, radical feminism. And then there's intersectionalities of feminism. But what it basically all comes back to is a woman being granted having the rights enforced that are the same for every man. And that should also include children as well. But, that'd probably be another day they get to that level. But the fact that women would be given the same rights as a man scares a lot of these black males, because they need and always have been using black women as a crutch or a resource or a supplement, a helping hand, as they call us, or they've been calling black women their helpmate. And they base everything off of shaming tactics from religious teachings and everything else. They speak about undesirability, anything they can to try to lower the self-esteem of black women and to promote this dire need for these black males, to be in the home, as if black women are not capable of being full adults, being effective parents that raise children in households that do not have the dysfunction of domestic violence that comes with black males, sexual assault, sexual exploitation, and the unaliving or the deaths of women and children, which happens 9 out of 10 times in every black hole, every black home, because a lot of these guys have mental issues that have not been diagnosed. They have wounded inner children issues that have not been addressed. They have drug addictions. They have alcohol addictions. They have all types of things going on with them that they don't disclose to people honestly, that build up over time and causes a explosion of something very dangerous and most times very deadly. And when you have these conversations, like I just seen a live tonight where it was about feminism and this false narrative of, has feminism hurt or destroyed the Black community? And it's like, how in the world? And I understand these things are done to be sensational and to gain viewership and keep engagement, but how in the world is a woman trying to sustain rights that are God-given but were taken away by men, asking men to be treated as equal human beings on the same scale as a man, be wrong? It makes no sense. And the way that women are so accepting, well, at least the Black women I'm seeing on these lives and these videos really getting on my fucking nerves, where they're so accepting of these men feeling like we don't deserve humanity and we don't deserve to be treated as if we're human beings, really bothers me. And I don't understand why Black women continue to bother with Black males who don't see them worthy of being human, a God-given right to be human and to be respected and to be let alone and just allowed to live and thrive the way nature, the universe, or creation, or the creator of creation put you here to do. Because I don't believe in their man-made religions. You know, it's just insanity. And the fact that whenever they talk about, you know, feminism, they always try to cut it up and separate it and cause a rift or a wedge between Black women and white women, as if, even though there are real differences between the way Black women and white women live in America based off of patriarchy and white supremacy, right? But the fact of the matter is we're still women. All of us together are still women, and we're all still being denied some of the same basic human rights that we were actually fucking born with, that some man is taking away from us. And I don't like the fact that Black males are always trying to make it seem like Black women are fucking stupid and that we were never able to be, you know, able to think about and to construct and to voice and to put movement and works behind injustices and inequalities that were done to us and push back against respectability politics that were highly put on us because we were seen as less than human, because we were an enslaved people, an indoctrinated, indentured people. And it's just disgusting. So I wanted to show you guys that there were, just so you know, that when you hear these stories by all of these women and Black males that are always trying to shoot down the accomplishments and insult the intelligence of Black women, that there were Black women in slavery, y'all, and before slavery, fighting for feminism, or what they called women's human rights back then. I want to show you a video, and I also want to show you, I won't go into this young lady's video because she's just reading a prompt, but I'll show you a picture and give you a little bit of another woman who was dealing with Black feminism, or feminism period, like right after the fucking Civil War. It's just amazing how you have all this stuff going on, but people will really pretend like white women started everything, and then Black women came along and said, oh, you know, that's a good idea, maybe we should get on that bandwagon. No, you've always had Black women that fought against slavery, fought for the rights of women, even while they were in bondage. One of the most famous ones who fought back during the suffrage movement and against all of those women, those white women in the movements that were hating on Black women and trying to leave us out was freaking Sojourner Truth. There was so many Black women doing this, but whenever you hear these Black males talk, or you watch these videos of Black women who are very much Black male centered and worshiping, they will say the same things. They all try to make it seem like we were not smart enough to know that we could voice the dissatisfaction we had with the treatment we were receiving. It's crazy. So I had found this video, and I just wanted to show you that this has been going on for a long time, but just listen to what they have to say, and we'll get back into the conversation, because it just gets me tight. It gets me tight that, you have all these Black women constantly worrying about and trying to champion and advocate for Black males when they are killed by cops, abused and brutalized by police. And then they act like Black women and children don't go through the same thing. Like, there's so many studies people never talk about. They never talk about how Black women are not killed during the apprehension the way that Black males are with police. Black women are often killed in high numbers in the custody of police, the same way Sandra Bland was taken out. You have so many women that were in custody, in prisons, en route to prisons, where they didn't make it there alive, or they were found in trunks of police cars months later, or buried in the back. I mean, these are the things that they don't talk about, because when we keep trying to make everything that happens to Black people the focal point of what happens to Black males as a representative of all of us, it takes away from and minimizes what literally happens to the Black women and the Black children. And then even when they do sparingly talk about the killing of Black children by law enforcement, it always is a little Black boy. They never talk about the little Black girls who are sometimes killed and raped and killed by these guys, because it was plenty of little girls that have been taken out that way as well. And so when they're talking about feminism and Black women in any way fighting for their rights as human beings and to be respected in the society, and not having to deal with Black males, further causing them more stress, more issues, and mental complications. And by that, I mean, there are a lot of Black women that live in the Black communities who literally have a fear of Black men. They have been so traumatized by these dudes beating them as children, sexually violating them as children, harassing them sexually on the street when they walk to and from home, to the grocery store and back, just being anywhere in proximity to a Black male. And from a little girl at the age of 9 years old and up, you have grown ass men trying to sexually violate you and exploit you. And to think that that does not have a traumatizing effect on every Black woman and girl in the Black community is absurd for people to believe that. And so when Black women are talking about not wanting to be in contact or in proximity to Black males because either they're afraid of them, literally, because they've been traumatized by them, or they don't want to deal with them due to the things that they have seen, know they're capable of, or have seen on the news, or whatever, heard the story of, watched the video of Black femicide. It is way too much for us to always have to take in, where we are always being victimized by these dudes in one way or the other, and everybody trying to push it under the rug, especially with the larger society of white America trying to make it seem like because we're Black and we are supposedly their counterparts, we are supposed to always take the brunt of these dudes not having any self-control or impulse control, or just being an adult and having any emotional intelligence, maturity, maturation, nothing. They're like fucking animals. And when we step back and say we don't want to be bothered with that, we don't want that in our households, we don't want that around our children, influencing our children to become like that, then we're looked at as if we have a problem, and no one wants to acknowledge, but has no problem minimizing the suffering we go through in dealing with Black males every day. Before I start this video, I gotta say, I believe I suffer from some type of trauma from these dudes as well, because I really hate standing next to them. I really hate walking next to them. I don't want to be close to them. And I hate that whenever they are around me, they're always trying to get some type of attention from me or get me to acknowledge them. And I can't stand them. I don't like being next to them. I don't want them talking to me. I don't want to look at them. They just really like unnerve me. They make me sick literally to my stomach. And this is again part of that whole thing of Black women being traumatized by these people, because throughout my personal life, every bad encounter in my life that was horrifying to the point of trauma was at the hands of a Black male, or Black males plural. Like when I got raped as a little girl, that was a Black man. When I saw my mother brutalized by one of her boyfriends, that was a Black male. When everything that I've ever seen in my life, aunts, other women relatives, whenever they were hurt, unalived, beaten half to death, all types of things done to them, it was always a Black male. So people have to understand that as Black women, a lot of us hold those traumas in us, and there's really no therapy or anything like that's going to take away an event that has really pushed you to the edge of fear, or pushed you to the edge of feeling like you're helpless and you're hopeless at the moment, and you relive that. And these are the things that
lecture number 66.
When these guys, when these Black males are having these conversations about Black women need to know their place and need to allow them back into the homes, they're not wanting to acknowledge or deal with any of the real traumas, the real violence, and the real murder and mayhem that they bring into Black women and children's lives. And then they use excuses for things that they've done that are barriers to the family unit and the cohesiveness of Black women and Black males. And I just want to say that before I turn this video on, is that they will try to gaslight forever and a fucking day, instead of taking accountability for all the foul fucking things they do to Black women and children daily. And one of the main things they like to throw up as one of their red pill talking points is Black feminism. They always try to make feminism a dirty word because they don't feel women, especially Black women, because they've always talked about how we're nothing in comparison to other women. You remember all the shit Kevin Samuels was to talk about, and all the rest of these lunatics online bashing Black women for more than 30 years, right? They always try to make it seem like when Black women try to go after rights or any type of equality in this society, or to try to get any political empowerment, we're trying to overstep our worth or our boundaries that are set on us by a racist society. And they feel like us trying to call for our rights is feminism teaching us to, uncondition us into believing that we're supposed to be literally the slave to them, always there for their free labor, their free sex, because everything with them is always about sex. The only reason why they want access to women and to have children and to be in the household so they can have sex. They don't care about anybody's health, anybody's mental wellness, just sex. And it's disgusting. And so feminism is always going to be looked at by these people as a problem, an obstacle, something that's always trying to lead the Black woman astray. And I just get sick of it. And the fact that they all Black women are spoken about secondary to white women in feminism is also annoying, because we already know white women always take over a movement that started by Black women, and feminism is no different. So in this video, these women that are going to be introduced in this video are literally the four mothers and founders of feminism before the white women joined the suffrage movement. And it's good for you guys to know who they are. And after this video, I'll show you another woman.
Hello and welcome to lecture number 66. This is topic 4.13, the Black feminist movement, womanism, and intersectionality. There is one learning objective, and it's explain how the Black feminist movement of the 20th century drew inspiration from earlier Black women's activism. Throughout U.S. history, Black women have played a central role in the struggle of freedom and racial and gender equality. Some notable examples from the 18th and 19th centuries include Joanna Lee, who was born in 1783 and became an African Methodist Episcopal Church preacher. She was the first African-American woman to publish an autobiography. Her writing not only chronicled her life, but also provided a rare insight into the spiritual and social challenges faced by Black women during her time. We've already discussed extensively Sojourner Truth, who is an abolitionist speaker who uniquely addressed the ways racism and sexism afflicted Black women. Truth's famous speech, Ain't I a Woman, delivered at the 1851 Women's Rights Convention, is a cornerstone of feminist rhetoric. Another significant figure is Harriet Tubman, who was a conductor on the Underground Railroad and helped free hundreds of enslaved people before slavery was abolished. Beyond her work as a liberator, Tubman became the first woman to lead a military operation during the Civil War, guiding the Combahee River Raid in 1863, which freed over 700 enslaved people.
Sorry about that, y'all. You know how they always try to do this. So, I mean, we can literally stop it there. It's totally cool. I do, however, want to show you this other lady. Let me go back. So you have so many Black women that were involved in women activism before feminism was even freaking, I guess, coined, but they're known as one of the first Black feminists or Black women feminists ever, or feminist women doing anything in regards to women's rights. It's just really wild.
In school, Haywood realized that they were generally guided towards different academic tracks. Boys were encouraged to pursue a more thorough and challenging education, with subjects such as math and science regarded as their
I just want to point this out about this particular woman here, Anna Julia Cooper. Now, as a little girl, she was always really smart, and she became a teacher, right? That was the thing she was mostly known for, as an educator and a writer, right? When she got married, however, you know how it went back then. If you didn't know, I'll tell you. Once they got married, they had to give up their careers, right? So fortunate for her, 2 years into her marriage, her husband died. So as a result of him dying, she had to go back to work, and she had to, make money again. So while she was doing that, she started noticing how her race and her gender always played a part in her securing employment. So that's what started her on the road of feminism. And when she did that, she literally spoke to those two particular things before the phrase was coined, intersectionality, right? This particular woman right here, when she wrote and she went to her speaking engagements, those were the very things that she always spoke about. And if that's not feminism, tell me what is.
Domain. Haywood obtained a high school education at St. Augustine's and credentials to teach at the school. During her studies, Haywood met George A.G. Cooper, a classmate who would go on to become a theology teacher at the school. Haywood married George in 1877, and as was the custom at the time, she was no longer allowed to teach. Unfortunately, the Coopers' marriage would end 2 years later with George's death. Following her husband's passing, Anna Julia Cooper enrolled at Oberlin College, from which she would earn bachelor's and master's degrees in mathematics. Cooper then worked at Wilberforce University and St. Augustine's before moving to Washington, D.C. to join the faculty at the Washington Colored School, later M Street School, where she taught math, science, and Latin. 1892 would be an incredibly busy and important year for Cooper. During that year, she co-founded the Colored Women's League and was part of the executive committee for the first Pan-African Conference in 1900. Cooper also published A Voice from the South by a Black woman of the South, a book of essays that was likely one of the first Black feminist publications. Within the book, Cooper advocated for women's right to an education on par with that of men. She thought that Black women being educated was especially important to the advancement of the Black community as a whole. The book's publication brought Cooper national attention, as well as invitations to give public speeches. She traveled the country giving lectures related to the book's main topics of education, equality, and the advancement of Black women. In 1893, she addressed the World's Congress of Representative Women and called on the predominantly white audience to work across color lines in pursuit of obtaining the right for women to vote. Cooper became the principal of the M Street School in 1902, but her tenure would only last a few years. At the time, some prominent educators and decision-makers thought that Black students' studies should focus on vocational trades. Cooper was not in that camp, and instead led the school with a focus on preparing its students for college. This ran afoul of the white Washington, D.C. school board and resulted in Cooper leaving the school in 1906 for a teaching position at Lincoln University in Jefferson City, Missouri. In 1910, Cooper returned to Washington, D.C. and resumed teaching at M Street School, renamed Dunbar High School in 1916. A year later, Anna Julia Cooper began working on her doctorate part-time at Columbia University in New York City. During this period, she managed to teach full-time, study part-time, write, and travel to give lectures. She took a break from her studies when her brother died in 1915, leaving behind either 5 children or grandchildren. The details are unclear about which.
All right, I'm going to stop it there, right? But I wanted to introduce you guys to her because this particular woman is known in American Black women history as the mother of feminism. Now, I know in a lot of states, they don't teach American Black women history, but here in New York City, I attended a Black college, right? That is part of the city of New York. It is CUNY College. That is where I got my first degree from. And in that school, I not only took American Black women studies, but I also took Black American family psychology. And basically all it is talking about all of the Black women's contributions in America from the time they came here, from the Mayflower all the way up to today, things that Black women contribute, the Black people who were here in this country as indigenous Native American people, not the $5 Indians. You guys are so, how could I put it, convinced they are the original inhabitants of America when they are not. And all of the contributions of Black women of our time period now that were inventors, scientists, doctors, politicians, business people, etc. They cover the whole history. They also spoke about Black women being the way we are today, resilient, and some of the founding people for any type of movements that start when social change is needed, the way that Black women just get up and do things without people asking them. Case in point, the way that TikTok has that HBCU that started up with just a couple of professors coming online to push back against Trump and the federal government, saying that during his term, they're going to take away Black history, and the fact that while you had that period in America where white racist people decided to commandeer the word or the term woke and change the meaning to what they wanted it to be, instead of it being originally what Black people created, like in the early 2000s, of it just being Black people calling out and recognizing racism, inequality, and injustice against Black people by white racism in America when it happened, right? They did the same thing with DEI currently, how they tried to code switch and dog whistle DEI by trying to make it only about Black people, when diversity, equity, and inclusion is just that. It's a diversity of people. It's not just Black people. It's these BIPOC people. It is disabled people. It is the gay people. It is veterans. It is everybody that does not fit under white American category. Okay? Or I should say rich white man category in America. So, and then the inclusion part is just giving people a fucking opportunity to take part in the same things that white America has always been able to take advantage of, but has restricted the availability to everybody else and nearly left all Black people and African people out of it completely. Right? I say that for a reason, because you had Black American people who were here literally on this land before slavery, and then you had the Africans that were brought to this land that a lot of us are the descendants of. So that's the reason why I say it that way. But I just wanted to make that clear, and I wanted to really make Anna Julia Cooper known to you, because I really don't like the way that Black women are being basically railroaded into being a permanent underclass. And when I say two things can be true at the same time, is because I'm not a person that prides themselves on trying to be white articulately. White, am I saying that right? Who wants to emulate being a white woman and being articulate to the point where I sound like a white woman. That's not important to me. The fact that I am authentically myself at all times, where I stumble over words and I might not say something the way you feel I should say it, or I didn't use the right part of speech when I spoke. And I take great pleasure in the colloquialisms of where my people come from, the fact that we speak more than one language, and sometimes my words get blended and it just comes out before I could think about it. All those type of things that are very much who I am, I don't have a problem with those things. And so I believe that while we're on these social media posts, we get too caught up in trying to assimilate into whiteness, where, like I said the other day, we have too many Black women on here trying to railroad other Black women into what white people and white America expect of us, in not just how we speak, but in how we look, how we think, and how we behave towards one another. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, Black women, please, let's start reapproaching all of these things that happen to us and that affect us every day. We look at it from a more guttural view, instead of this polished, whitewashed view where if it ain't like white, it's not right. And if it's too Black, then we don't want to be associated. Let's kind of throw that to the garbage when it comes to Black women, because you don't have to sound like you know every fucking thing, and you could pull up and recite shit from statistics from a year ago, last week, from the encyclopedia, from a research entity, or etc. Like, none of that is needed. When did we become those people where everything that a white person puts onto paper, we have to run around justifying it and verifying it and confirming that if the white person didn't say it first, then it's not really true. And then we run behind them, confirming it and making it seem as if we can't fucking think for ourselves or explain what it is we're going through, without having some white person's report be the final proof and stamp on it. I think we need to move away from that shit. I really do. Because when you have these people always inflicting implicit bias on you and about you, it's kind of hard for me to look at, you know, like something from, let me see, what is one of the common, one of these common goddamn places where they're always citing this shit from, what is, oh my God. I can't think of a place right now where everybody's always referring to this institute. Any of these places where they do research and it's not black owned, black based, and black research. Peer, what is that thing called? Peer. I can't think of it right now. I'm actually subscribed to it too and don't remember it. Don't give a shit. That's really how I feel. But my point is what I said. We shouldn't always have to be pulling receipts to make people believe our argument or understand that what we're saying actually speaks to a community of Black people somewhere. If we're talking about Black women, we all know that there's not every Black woman is the same. We're not a monolith. And if we're speaking about domestic violence, feminism, Black femicide, unemployment, higher education, low self-esteem, whatever it is you want to address, there's always going to be groups of Black women that it applies to and groups of Black women that it doesn't apply to. So for us to always try to say that, oh, wait, Black person, anything you're saying can absolutely be the case, because if we don't have this white person's research behind it to coincide and to confirm what you're saying, then what you're saying is not true. We need to move away from that. And I've noticed lately that when you have a lot of these lives and a lot of these panels, whenever you get these Black people who have grown up around white people and they pick up a lot of their mannerisms and a lot of their anti-Blackness and a lot of their, passive aggressive, nasty, just trying to come at Black people, just take digs at Black people's intelligence and try to make it seem as if a person is speaking gutturally the way I do. And I don't give a fuck about somebody's research and what they had to say about Black people, because I am a Black woman. I live Black life every day. You can't fucking tell me my life experiences don't count and that the things that I go through are not very similar to another Black woman, regardless of her income, regardless of her geographical location or her individually obtained level of education. You can't tell me that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about when I'm genuinely the thing or entity that is the focus or topic of what you're talking about. Get the fuck out of here. And it gets on my nerves, because it's like, okay, we've gotten to a point where we're letting whites and others define and write our summary of who we are. And then when we speak, we got to go get the material of a white person to confirm who and what we are. That's bullshit to me. And that's why when I made that video the other day, I noticed that a lot of people didn't like it and they had an issue with it. It's because too many times, as soon as something becomes trending on TikTok, people will take that shit as a matter of fact or the new authority or the rule of how it's supposed to be now. And they never think outside the box. They never have independent thought or say, yeah, well, that may be what y'all are all doing, but I don't agree with that shit and I'm not going to do it. And so it continues. And this is what's happening right now with the whole conversation and belief and the push and the advocacy for Black women to be in relationships and to actually try to live up to these KKK members, Trump, his administration, and white America, period, in trying to push Black women into this deadly game of being in relationships, being partnered up, being married to Black males who have historically, pandemically, and afterwards and presently been the primary offender in taking the lives of Black women and Black girls by Black femicide and continual domestic violence and sexual exploitation and sexual offenses and sexual assaults. You have people constantly trying to get Black women to buy into this, relationship, marriage, nuclear family unit, and just living up to all of the expectations of white America to pop out those babies, to make sure you live in those households with those extremely violent black males who, if they're not getting exactly what they want, because they want to, remember, they want to be the lead, right? They want to have power somewhere in society because white men are not giving it to them in the everyday world. So the only power they can have is to have power over black women and children. And if that means taking the life of black women and children that we all know too well, black women, that white people and any other people in this country are not going to give a fuck about, they're not going to protest it over, they're just going to turn their head the other way, clean up the body, and act like that black woman or that child didn't even matter, because we don't to them. So for all these people online having these lives, trying to convince black women that they should be in relationships with black males who have a loneliness issue, have a drug issue, have an alcohol issue, have a violence issue, have a black women hating issue, have a black girl hating issue, is really fucking crazy to me. And the way that black women are going for this and trying to sign up for struggle love and probably eventual black femicide victimhood is insane to me. And the fact that black women are not pulling away from this and just not participating in any of these lives or videos and panels is insane. To me, it's just bothering me. And I had to say what I had to say, because as time goes on, I'm literally feeling like black women are being overwhelmed so much by all the trauma that we have been through and that we literally go through every day, that even though there are a minority of us who, like myself, will always be resilient and do not have a limit to our we don't have a cognitive break, right? And not break, but cognitive limit, right? Like, we are not gonna be stressed to the point where we can't function and we can't react the way that we're supposed to because there's too much shit on top of our heads. No, what I'm seeing is the very opposite. Like, there's so many women out here having a limit to the point where they're giving in to all of this negative talk about black women, not caring about the futures of their daughters and not caring about the safety of their daughters, and only caring about playing house and having a family with black males who have historically let all black women over time know that they're not concerned with you other than sticking their dick in you, fucking you, and trapping you with a child that they could run back to if you let them throughout your entire lifetime, so that they could have somewhere to be housed, fed, given money when they need it, get the level of codependency or whatever it is they need from you to continue on in this world to victimize another black woman and another black girl. And I just want to know, when the fuck is it going to stop? And when are we really going to see that if black women ever want to get to the point where they could actually progress in this country, you're going to have to literally separate yourself from black males and stop all of this playing house and wanting to be in a family unit with them, because it's getting us literally nowhere but in the fucking grave. In the grave. And that's what I had to say today about that. Two things could be true at one time. You don't have to agree with me, and you don't even have to want to go along with what I say, but you do have to recognize that if you keep company with black males, very soon you may be the victim of a homicide, or your daughter may be the victim of a raping and then a homicide, because that seems to be their specialty lately, is to hone in on our little girls, rape them up, and then kill them. And I don't see any black women out here talking about that. I don't see any black males out here talking about that. I don't see any black women or males talking about the black femicide rates that have been increasing, or the fact that we're 6 times as likely to either be beat or killed by these black males when they're in our homes. Nobody's talking about how they try to take over the black woman's resources, have her do more for them than she does her children, work herself to death while he sits around. I mean, I don't see people talking about these things that are the most important to what is happening to black women today. I don't understand it. And black femicide is like a silent public health crisis that no one is talking about. And it's so fucking real. And whenever you say that black women are being murdered, you know, people want to always make it seem like you're crazy, you're making it up, when it's a reality. Like, you can go on The Guardian, you can go on many websites, newspapers, whatever. Here's one from Colombia, right here in where I live in New York City, and you see the article right here. Black women in the U.S. murdered 6 times more than white women. It's 6 times more than any women. And you see, this was just last year. And it's unfortunate that you have to wait like almost a year for them to come out with the numbers for the current year. But by the time 2026 rolls around, and listen, it's going to be so many black women that have been killed. It's crazy. And no one is caring about this. And it's kind of our fault, because when we did have the 3 black women on here, bringing black femicide to the forefront every day, the FBI was actually on top of the murders of black women. But now that Rosa and Ori are gone and Cha-Cha unfortunately passed away, no one is covering black femicide. And it's like open city or open house on black women by black males. But yet, let them tell it. You're always lying about what is happening to black women because you just want to bash them because you're a misandrist, right? No, it's not true. And it is so unfortunate that this shit constantly keeps happening to black women. I get so fucking tired of it. I really do. That was the latest article. The rest of these articles go from 2020 all the way up to 2024, right? Here's another lady. She said, you on YouTube, black women are dying and you don't care. It's true. People don't care. The tragic reality of black abuse and femicide. 2023, 2024. This is this stupid bitch, Shay, whatever the fuck her name is, that chick that is a black male worshiper, where she's always advocating for things to happen to black women. One day, she should get the karma she deserves. She really should. It's crazy. Look at all of these headlines. Studies find black women murdered by men are nearly always what? Nearly always what? Always killed by someone they know, most commonly with a gun. This is how shit goes. Right? Nonprofit brings awareness to the violence that black women, what? Wait, what? That black women and girls face. Plans to march in December this summer. Now, I didn't go to this one, but I went to the one in Washington, D.C. with Rosa in the summertime of 21. It's really fucking crazy. All this shit is crazy. But when you say this, people think you're making this shit up, right? Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. The silent epidemic of Black femicide in the United States. Black women at higher risk of homicide than any other race, right? And then you have more, and you keep going pages and pages of this, but I'm crazy. Let's see this one from last year. Let's just see what they're saying. I don't even know who did this. Let's see.
You heard me right there. I said every day.
I think it's time that we talk about what's happening in Kenya, and that's femicide and the dehumanization of women. Can somebody point me to the exact point in time when we normalized that killing is something men do from time to time?
3% of these women are Black. In fact, Black women are 4 times more likely than their white peers to be murdered by a lover.
I cannot say enough how jealous these men are of you.
Let me point this out to y'all, right? Look at the ribbon underneath the video. Do you see all these videos about Black femicide? So I don't want to hear anybody in lives anymore talking about how Black femicide is not as bad as it is, or it's a figment of our imagination, or we're just making this up. It's not. It is real and it is serious. And I really think that the algorithm suppresses these videos, because until I did this search, I didn't see any of these videos. And if these videos were really circulated the way they should be through an algorithm, you would have seen these at least one time, where they would have had millions of views. Do you see how low these videos are for some of them? Like this first one here, Black femicide, let's talk, exposing the why of the scary increase in violence. That shit has 248 views. But yet when you move along to gossipy stuff, or things where, you know, this might have been somebody they knew. This lady here, remembering Montanay Davis, a fight against Black femicide, she got a decent amount of views. She got 38,000, which is good. Every one of these videos should have 1 million damn views or more, because it's about Black women. So why aren't Black women caring about other Black women? When you care about Black women, it doesn't mean you're hating Black men or Black males. It's you're caring about yourself to safeguard your health and safety and your welfare. The welfare not only of yourself, but of your little girls. Because when they can't get Black women, they come after little Black girls. If they can't fuck Black women, they go fuck little Black girls. And so Black women have to be the protectors of little Black girls and themselves. And you got to stop telling yourself shit like you're not strong enough to fight them, or a woman can't fight a man. You can fight any motherfucker you want, as long as you have a weapon and you're not trying to die or get hurt. It's that fucking simple. But look at this shit. Look at the shit at the bottom. It's fucking ridiculous.
I cannot
In
say
the
enough
U.S., 4
how
Black women and
jealous
girls
these
are
men
killed
are of
every
you.
day. You actually heard me right there. I said every day.
Hi, Black women are dying, and it seems that no one cares. If I told you Black women in the US were on average 6 times more likely to be murdered than their white peers, would you believe me? You probably would, which is the scary part. I'm Mo, and we are going to be talking about Black femicide in America, the intentional killing of Black women and girls because of their race and their gender. Black femicide, if you are not aware, is a term that was coined by Rosa Page, an Arkansas-based nurse and founder of Black Femicide USA, a movement to raise awareness of the issue. This statistics was determined in a research study from 1999 to 2020 from an analysis of racial disparities in U.S. homicide rates by researchers at Columbia University Urban Medical Center and Columbia Mailman School of Public Health. Once more, Black women are more likely than white women to be killed by guns.
This in turn.
Let me just tell y'all something. I'm gonna stop this because that just made me really emotional, right? When she spoke about Rosa, right? It's really fucked up because Rosa was literally on here, and I'm guilty of it too. And I ended up apologizing to her in person at the march because I thought she was being. My thing is, I don't like Black women being lenient to Black males, especially when they're the motherfuckers killing us and taking us out of here and harming our girls. And I felt like when Rosa was saying that all they needed was re-education, training, employment, and advocacy, I said, fuck them. They don't need no more than we need. If we could live life and do what we got to do with the whole world on our fucking backs and them too, it should not be that hard for them to see us as human beings. So anyway, Rosa was on here and she was daily, her Cha-Cha and Ori, pulling up all of the morgue reports from every state in this country of Black women being killed by these Black males in their households, coming home from work, working 2 and 3 jobs, this motherfucker sitting on the couch, women being murdered after they come home and find their teenage daughter has been raped and dismembered and stuffed in the refrigerator and shot in the head and throat cut. The stories were so fucking crazy, y'all. You would literally thought you was watching a sci-fi or a thriller movie, but it was real life, and it was indicative of the disrespect, the hatred, and the fucking disregard and the dehumanization of Black women by Black males. So when I see all this shit online, and I think about what we're heading into, where you have these white people trying to take the money away from anybody, Black women who don't want to participate in these family games, playing house with motherfuckers that will more likely to kill you than take care of you, and them trying to stop things you're entitled to by the Constitution of this land. I get frustrated, and I get frustrated with the fact that there are too many conversations on Black women trying to be civil and be too courteous and concerned with the very fucking primary offenders that are taking you out and who don't extend you the same courtesy. And it really, really fucking bothers me. And then on top of that, you have Black women also turning into like these, like following sheep, where anytime a Black woman comes on and she's speaking nasally or speaking like a white bitch and trying to imitate a white woman and making it seem as if you don't talk like, sound like, or look like her, and pull up all this statistical shit that anybody could do if they really wanted to, right? How hard is it to Google some shit from any of these places that give out statistics that they consider to be relevant about the shit we're living in? And then you sit there, write a script to it, or read it verbatim off of the fucking page. Who can't do that? So let's dead it with the receipt shit, and let's be real about stuff and put more emotion into protecting and caring about one another, instead of what we have today, where you have this thing where it's this great competition between Black women. Oh, I'm smarter than you. I look better than you. I could tell a story better than you. I could do it. Well, what the fuck is that dumb shit about? This is this separation and divide, us versus them shit that has been taught to us and passed down from slavery, where we're still showing the psychological effects of slavery to this fucking day. Still believing that anything Black is still not good enough, but anybody that cosplays or code switches into whiteness is more credible and has morality than the rest of us who don't want to do that shit. And it needs to stop. Black women, we could do two things at the same time. Two things could also be true at the same time. You could agree with me or not agree with me, and you could still stand up for Black women and yourself and fight towards our progression in this country by doing one of two things: calling that Capitol switchboard, being the constituent to that senator, that congressperson, and letting them know how to vote on a bill that affects our future, affects women's rights and women's reproductive rights. Or you can write that email that I showed you earlier in this video that was put up as a sample by Hillary Clinton. Add in your own comments or optional points of views, issues, concerns, or suggestions, and make sure you let those representatives know, I am watching you. I am holding you accountable. And if you let me down, I will guarantee you I will vote you out of office the very next time your seat is up. And that's all to it. I just want to see us do better. I want this Black femicide shit to be a thing of the past, and I don't give a fuck about rehabilitating Black males. I want Black women to stop dealing with those motherfuckers altogether. Protect yourself and your children. Let them Black males stand on their own 2 fucking feet for a change. Why do they always have to have Black women as their personal crutch and their personal resource? Why are they never that for us? They always talking about how they want to be the fucking leader. They want to be the man. They always want to have a parent-child relationship with a Black woman, telling her she got to submit to fucking trash. Then you need to step up, motherfucker, and do what you're supposed to do in your community and be a fucking man. And in no time, Black women, accept that bullshit about submission. When you're an adult, I don't give a fuck if you're married or in a relationship with somebody. They should treat you with mutual fucking respect and in partnership, cooperation. And if they can't do that, then you don't need to be bothered with them. I'm going to go now because I'm getting a little aggravated with this whole thing, because it's all so simple and so easily remedied. Like, Black women, just center yourself, man. Center yourself and protect Black girls, and all the rest of this shit will work itself out. Either these dudes are going to step up, change, and do the right thing and see you as a human being, or they will continue to be fucking misogynists. And then you know that you just got to cut them loose. Let them go on to other women. You don't fucking need them. There are other men in this world. And I'm so glad in saying that, I'm so glad to see other Black women pushing videos on TikTok where they're showing the Polynesian men, the Melanesian men, all types of men that are similar to Black men, that the majority of them look better than Black men. And if you need to have an option, do that. You don't have to go for no fucking white man. I will never tell you to go for white men, because I think they're physically fucking unattractive. And I cannot get past the crimes of humanity they have committed against my foremothers. So I would never think about sitting on none of their dicks, and I don't understand Black women who do. And believe me, that includes the Black women that are related to me who do that. So listen, I don't know what to tell you besides center yourself. Stop giving a fuck about these Black males and what they think about you. Stop patronizing their fucking lives and their videos that are bashing you, disrespecting you, and dehumanizing you. Love yourself and love little Black girls. Stand on business when it comes to this American government so that we can fucking prevail. That's it. That's all. That's all I got to say. Good night.